Young Turks now has audio, the TYT Audio Network, podcasts of some of your favorite shows and new shows, including one with Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator. She's going to do We the People with Nina Turner, talking about equality and justice and seeing that through the eyes of regular Americans who are affected by politics and policy. Everybody check it out at tyt.com/audio.
Last Tuesday, there were primary elections in Virginia, South Carolina, Nevada, and Maine. And there was one particular election that people had a close eye on because it showed us whether or not challenging Trump would be beneficial or detrimental to Republican candidates. The Republican candidate that I'm talking about is Representative Mark Sanford, who was primaried by a young woman, her name is Katie Arrington, who identified as a strong Trump supporter. Now, Mark Sanford, who we at TYT have never really been big fans of, has challenged Trump on a few occasions, and Katie Arrington has capitalized on that as her main platform issue. She has attacked Sanford for not being pro-Trump, while she has been very pro-Trump. So State Representative Katie Arrington, who hammered Sanford as a traitor to Trump, won the GOP primary in a victory that may spell the end for Sanford's long political career in the state of South Carolina. So his willingness to question Trump, who is lionized by the GOP primary electorate, proved politically fatal. So this is interesting because there has been a pretty noticeable change among longstanding senators and congressmen in that in the beginning they were much more willing to question Trump. Certainly in the general election before he got elected, they denounced him when that Access Hollywood tape came out, where Trump said that he grabs women by the genitals and that he moves in on them like a bitch. Those are actual statements that our president made. But now all of a sudden they support anything and everything he does. There are very few lawmakers who do challenge Trump, and those who do challenge him have decided to retire. So what does that say about the Republican Party? What does that say about Republican voters? Is it possible for someone to stand up to Trump on the right without destroying his or her career?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about. To what extent is the GOP going to step up and represent those things that represent or reflect, I should say, this country's values? And to what degree are they just going to stand up and salute a leader who they know really doesn't speak to them in any way that resonates with their values? I think the answer is they're not going to step up. They're seeing that he's winning right now in this bizarre way. None of them can believe it. They all talk about him behind his back. We've seen many a story from inside the GOP and from even inside the White House about how everyone considers him a joke, completely and manifestly incompetent. But having said that, to go up against him, you take on the Twitter storm. Now, just speaking of Twitter, Sanford, I believe the tweet that Trump delivered, the anti-Sanford tweet, was sort of at the 11th hour. It was a last-minute tweet.
So Trump did tweet in support of Katie Arrington just three hours before the polls closed. So it's very hard to
attribute too much significance to that.
Right, exactly. And so, but you don't need to attribute too much significance to that, because what Arrington did was I guess smart from a political strategy or political perspective. She ran on a campaign where she consistently attacked Sanford for not being pro-Trump enough, and then really applauded herself as being a firm supporter of Donald Trump. So I want to quickly go back to what Sanford had said about Trump that was critical. In 2017, he told Politico that Trump has fanned the flames of intolerance and has been one of the few GOP lawmakers to demand that Trump release his tax returns, which I think is awesome that he did that. Again, I've
no
never
fan
been
of Sanford, right?
No fan of Sanford, but I think he was right. I wanted to see Trump's tax returns, and he certainly did fan the flames of intolerance in the country. I mean, we've been seeing it and experiencing it ever since he got elected into office. Now, I do want to show you what Katie Arrington had to say. This is video 5, and here she is talking about how she's the party of Trump.
Joe Cunningham and the D.C. Democrats are the party of Nancy Pelosi and Elizabeth Warren. We are the party of President Donald J. Trump.
It's the year of the woman. It is the year of Trump. Let's send somebody who is going to go to Washington and be supportive of what we in South Carolina want.
Okay.
You can see that she's a smack talker. You know, she's comfortable in that role. Kind of it's not quite pro wrestling, but for politics, it's much closer than you'd normally find. If you're listening and not watching, I'll just tell you, she's kind of moving back and forth and using her hands, and she's got a very aggressive style, and she's attaching Pelosi, Democrats. These are things that are kind of basic talking points.
Yeah.
In other words, she's not providing solutions or even specific issues as reasons that she should be voted into office.
You know, she mentioned Elizabeth Warren in that list of politicians that the supporters booed. And I want to have a polite conversation with them and just ask them what it is that they specifically dislike about Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, how do you boo Elizabeth Warren?
Do you dislike when she held Wells Fargo accountable when they were, committing fraud against consumers? Was that one of the things? I mean, what do you dislike about? I'm just curious. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
No. I think it's a fair point because she is certainly an advocate for the everyman. I mean it generically, and so the idea somehow that Elizabeth Warren could be a campaign issue you could run on. Don't get me wrong. You can say things about Elizabeth Warren. You can talk about foreign policy records and all the rest, and that they bring up during her elections. But to use her as a talking point and to get boos. But again, that crowd is into that Trumpian thing. It's almost like a church-going crowd. You say one thing and they say, amen.
Warren's been fighting the Wall Street bankers and the swamp that Trump supporters claim they want to fight back against. I mean, it's all really fascinating stuff. Anyway, I do want to show you what Mark Sanford had to say in his concession speech. So let's take a quick look at that.
It may have cost me an election in this case, but I stand by every one of those decisions to disagree with the president because I didn't think it, at the end of the day, was either concurrent with the promises I made when I first ran for office or the voices of the very people of the first district that I represent.
So he's saying that he's going to stick by his principles, even if it means that he loses, and he lost.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.